So I suggested that either Kasich would win every state on the 26th or Trump would sweep the delegates. I don't think there's a state on Tuesday that Cruz can finish second in, but it doesn't look like anybody's taking a serious run for Kasich either. So it looks like Trump's going to sweep. The results on Tuesday are going to be similar to the results from New York. It wasn't because Cruz insulted New Yorkers. Okay, that's not the reason that things turned out the way they did. It's because his policies are considered to be insane by people in the Northeast. I'm more or less a northeasterner, and I can see why they would think that. And Kasich is, in truth, is probably just not enough time. Okay, if Cruz had dropped out, Kasich would have been able to take a run, even in a two-person race. Cruz never had a serious chance of getting to 30%, let alone winning. I've been over this a few times. I think that one of the biggest reasons why you don't see more movement to Kasich is because of Cruz. I think that there's a big percentage of people that see Trump as the moderate foil to Cruz's extremism. And what I was thinking was that if Kasich can get a little bit of a boost, if he could kind of get running a little bit, then a lot of that moderate support that is stuck with Trump right now in order to stop Cruz would jump over to Kasich, who is probably closer to what they really want. But there's a large amount of the Republican Party, especially in the Northeast, okay, that's making a pragmatic decision that Trump is better than Cruz. And that's really all there is to it. But if Cruz wasn't there, if the race was between Trump and Kasich, I think Kasich would have probably won. Right? The flip side of that is that Cruz is also taking quite a bit of right-wing support that would probably prefer Trump over Kasich. So it's hard to, I mean, you have to weigh that out, right? So I'm saying that Kasich probably would have won in a two-party race, but there's a possibility that enough support would have moved from Cruz to Trump that he would have won anyways. And so ideally you want to keep Cruz in, right, so that he's able to pull some of that support away and just do a lot of positive media on Kasich, right? I mean, that's the ideal, but it does not appear as though that has worked out at all. Even if it was clear from the very start that, I mean, it was never going to be Cruz. And I still think that Cruz will probably not break 30% in any of these states. And if you look at the projections for tomorrow, they throw around the number of 100 delegates for Trump. I'm saying tomorrow because it is, in fact, the 25th. This was written on the 22nd. Let's see. So it should be on Tuesday. I think it's going to be closer to 150. And I'll go to that in a second. The hope was that Kasich could keep Trump under 50%, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen. Now, as for Bernie, what's going on in the Democratic primary for Tuesday? The harsh reality at this point is this. Do not expect him to win any states at all on 26th. I would expect him to do better in the polling in Maryland due to bias, and that should hold there because the rules aren't as strict as New York. And if you do look it up, you'll see the predictions have consistently overestimated the effects of race. So I think the numbers have her ahead by 25 points or something. That's probably an exaggeration. But it's not going to be enough. If instead of being 25, it might move down to 10, right? The best case scenario, if he's lucky, he'll be able to split everywhere more, so that he doesn't get even further behind. Now that said, you'll note that my path, which had him win in the end, actually called for near splits on the 26th. Suggested that in the end he's got to come out with a positive balance. He's got to pick up about 50 delegates on the 26th, mostly in Pennsylvania, and that's in order to close the distance to what was going to be about 100. but that was built on a win in New York, taking him from 200 to 150, rather than a loss taking him from 200 to 250. Now, that said, mathematically speaking, it's not a disaster yet. On Wednesday morning, it might be a disaster, but it's not yet a disaster mathematically. There's still enough delegates up on the 26th that he could, in theory, make up 150 delegates on Tuesday and then get back on track. But that would be completely out of nowhere. The polling is not predicting that. Okay. Realistically, he should be able to walk out of the 26th with a difference less than 300. And he probably won't actually be able to do that. Moving forward, I expect her to win Indiana and West Virginia by substantial margins. Indiana will probably look like Ohio, and West Virginia will probably look like Tennessee. Unfortunately, that might be the first opportunity that I have to really rail against the models. It might be the first situation where the models are demonstrably wrong, like predictably wrong. I think it's a little late, and it doesn't really help my argument much. But it might be the first real serious evidence that I have, because there's a lot of coincidences that have asserted themselves. Meaning that the next state he'll have a real chance to win, and it will be Oregon, which is the same day as Kentucky, which he'll probably lose in, so he'll probably end up splitting the day overall, and the difference will be nearly 400 delegates by the time he gets there. I don't like it either. I'm sorry, but that's what's happening here. And then I thought about that a little bit more, and I looked at some actual numbers, and I concluded that regarding Trump, the media is actually out to lunch. The fact is that the Republican nomination is over. It's not even close. Trump currently has 847. I figure that he'll probably get close to 160 on Tuesday. But let's round it down to 153 so we can say that on Wednesday morning he wakes up with 1,000 delegates. And then he gets around 250 more. Well, California and New Jersey are both winner-take-all states. He's almost certain to win both of them. And when you add it up, it's 220. Meaning he really only needs around 30. Now, if you look at Oregon, Washington, and New Mexico, these are all proportional states. There's 96 there. All I need to do is get 30. Because they're proportional, that means he just needs to get 30% in those states. And I think it's quite likely that he will. So I'm suggesting that Trump can win the nomination without Indiana, without West Virginia, and without the three remaining likely cruz states, which are Nebraska, Montana, and South Dakota. Presuming he does extremely well tomorrow, or on Tuesday, which is tomorrow, it seems that the media is not looking at numbers for the 26th properly. That seems to be the confusion. I don't know how they get that number of 100. I mean, you'd have to... Does he think Kasich is going to win in Delaware, or he's going to... or Maryland, or like, I don't know where they get those numbers. All polling that I've seen suggests that he should sweep, all 5 of the states. And that would mean he should get at least 150. right? And then that makes Indiana irrelevant because he picks up 50 delegates on the 26th that the um, experts are not assigning to him, and then he doesn't need Indiana at all, right? So that's it. I think I'll probably win Indiana anyways. Um, so, and if he does, and he does well in West Virginia, then he gets more than 1,300 delegates, and that's probably what it's going to end up looking like. Okay, he's not just going to get he's going to be substantially beyond it. He'll have a little bit of breathing room, even you know, even if there is some bribery or some people that don't show up, um, it won't matter. He'll win anyways. So I think that it's as clear as day. Uh, the contests on the 26th are, as they usually are, mere formalities. Um, Trump will um, all but cement his win, and Sanders will all but put himself out of contention. But as I've stated repeatedly, um, that doesn't mean I think that Sanders should drop out. Although maybe Ted might want to start thinking about going home.